record holder for the most yards ever passing in a single game, Rohan Davey. Emmitt Smith joins us in studio.
It's the first time I played in such a place that had that much noise.
Jock, throw a rock and you'll hit a 3-star cornerback in Louisiana.
Jock Talk is sponsored by Locke Meredith Injury Lawyers.
Welcome to another edition of Jock Talk, and certainly Lane Kiffin is all the buzz in Baton Rouge, named LSU's new head coach. Bryce Koon works for On3. He's been here for several seasons covering LSU football. Thanks for coming down, Bryce. Appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man. We've been trying to put this together for quite some time, and I'm glad we were able to
That's right.
do it.
That's right. We've been missing each other, but what a great time to sit down and talk about everything. Are you glad you're covering LSU, or you want to run away from this stuff?
I love it, man. I know you mentioned right there, a lot of people who don't know I'm from Georgia, and so I've always had this affinity for the SEC, and then knowing about LSU, but then being here the past 3 years, what a past 3 years, right? I mean, I think my first day was the news of the Cortez Hankton and all that kind of stuff that might have happened in Atlanta and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously we kind of roll into the women's national championship, baseball winning the title, and we move down here. So it's been awesome. And this season, you and I were just talking off air, like this is about as crazy as it gets.
Well, this is how crazy it is. So we're in Tiger Stadium the other day as Lane Kiffin is introduced as the head coach, and so we walked out of Tiger Stadium in late September. LSU was a 4-0 football team. They got into the top 5 of the national rankings. Now, certainly we could kind of tell this offense is kind of clunky, but can they win these low-scoring defensive games? That was keep your fingers crossed. They go to Oxford, Mississippi. I think it was September 27th. They lose to Ole Miss, who, of course, the head coach is Lane Kiffin. And 2 months later, his face is up on the video boards in Tiger Stadium as the new head coach at LSU. So this is how wild college football is these days.
Yeah, I was having a conversation on our message board with some of our subscribers, and we just kind of talked about the fact that 2 months ago you're sitting there and you lost that game to Ole Miss. You didn't play well offensively, but you still had a chance to go win the game in the fourth quarter. And I think if you would have told fans then, hey, Lane Kiffin's going to be your head coach, a lot of people would have not believed you. Like, it would just been like, oh, okay, that might could happen. Heck, I've been telling people, we walked down, I don't know how you felt, Jock, out of Clemson week 1. Mm-hmm. A lot of us walked out saying, this team has the makeup of a team that could go compete for a national title.
Sure.
And I think I even went on record and said, this team's going to make the playoff. Little did we know that Clemson would be a middling team and LSU the same.
Well, I tell you what, first day of practice, I don't know if it was – I had a nice jog that morning. I was feeling good. Whatever. First day of practice, I kind of felt in the air. I'm like, I feel like something's different. I feel like this team could be special. I was looking at the guys on the defensive side of the ball that they brought in, which throughout a disappointing season, 7-5, we can still say a guy like A.J. Halsey, a guy like Monsieur Delane, who's one of 3 finalists for the best defensive back in the country, right? I mean, these additions did pan out, and the whole storyline in the offseason was, got to win a season opener. Got to win a season opener. We've been starting 0-1 every single year, and I was ready for everyone to be mad at Verge Ausberry at about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night after LSU would lose to Clemson, because people were saying, why are we playing this difficult game to start the year? Why can't we play Rice? For whatever reason, Rice is the name that keeps coming up. Play Rice. But yeah, LSU wins this, millions and millions of people watching this kind of Daytona 500, the way I describe it, this biggest first type game. But yeah, it didn't pan out.
It didn't pan out, and you go back to it. I mean, look, I before I made the trip down here, I covered Georgia Tech in Atlanta, and Clemson just a few weeks later goes to Atlanta, gets beat on a walk-off field goal. At that moment, I remember watching that game before LSU played Florida that night, thinking, oh boy, like this might not be what we think it is. And then we get to the Florida game, right? And that defense that you talked about, 5 interceptions, 5 turnovers in that game they forced, but you only won the game 20-10. I think at that juncture we were like, hey, something's not right. And then, Jacques, you know as well as anybody, this whole fiasco that maybe we've moved on from, because there's been so much news in the headlines. Is Garrett Nussmeier hurt? Is he not hurt?
Yeah.
I mean, that whole fiasco from September to October, it's been a whirlwind. I think LSU fans have been through the ringer, and now you sit here on the final day as we record this on National Signing Day, getting ready for the portal in a month. It doesn't slow down.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Well, considering the fact that there are lots of interesting documentaries done on things that I thought were not interesting, one day somebody is going to have to do, I don't know, call it 7 days in Baton Rouge, or, red hot in the red stick. I don't know what you want to call it, but from the LSU, I think it was October 25th when LSU played Texas A&M.
Yep.
And, I was down the field before the game looking around. The place was pretty packed. I think everyone was ready to support the team. They were up at halftime 18-14. And then the third quarter was the perfect storm of crap. The whole thing just goes off the rails. They give up a long punt return. They look like they quit. The stadium empties out. The A&M students start taking over the LSU student section. Darren DeQuano, our great videographer, gets a shot of Verge Ausberry at the goalpost, leaning up against the goalpost, just kind of staring out into space. And then they wouldn't fire Brian Kelly, would they? They wouldn't fire him after that.
Yeah.
Wait till the end of the year. But what's the old saying? Whatever is worth doing later is worth doing now.
Yeah.
And they did it. Were you surprised that they fired him?
It's weird. I mean,
not that they fired him, but the Sunday after.
The Sunday after.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest thing is, and you've covered a lot of these things as well, just in terms of how those Sundays go, right? I mean, look, we had a bunch of pre-writes ready to go. Would it be Joe Sloan? Would it be Brad Davis? Could it be Cortez Hankton? That would be, and the way I put it was the sacrificial lamb. That's the blood that LSU fans wanted. Well, they got a little bit more than that. They got the head on the stick. As the day went on Sunday and you don't hear anything, and then just from my vantage point, talking with recruits who, Jock, you had kids getting offered that day by a staff, and then the next question out of their mouths was,
Who's my coach?
Who's my coach? I mean, that's a wild concept to even kind of wrap your head around. Maybe not in today's society and maybe not today's day and age of college football, but I was surprised. But once the silence was too much, that for me was when it was like, okay, something bigger is brewing here. And obviously talking with some people in and around the building, you're like, hey, they may be zeroing in on Kelly. And then, man, you just fast forward to the fact that I'm sitting out there that night videoing a team meeting and Kelly leaving and buffing out his car or whatever he needed to do. So
yeah. And I don't want to spend too much time in the past, but certainly it's worth revisiting that whole week of Kelly fired on Sunday.
Bye week. Yeah, you're in the middle of a bye week too. So it was
right.
It was very long 2 weeks till Alabama.
Yeah, and on Wednesday, your governor is at a press conference. What's it called? Stamp? Is that it? What's the program? Anyway, for food stamps.
Yeah.
And again, Glenn Guilbeau's there, to his credit, and asked some questions, and he just blasts Scott Woodward, the AD. He's not going to hire the next head football coach, and I couldn't really remember a governor as involved with LSU football as this. Now, our previous governor, John Bell Edwards, I think he said something at some point where, we may not have LSU football if we don't do X, Y, and Z. It's kind of a scare tactic thing, whatever. But yeah, him really involved. Thursday, women's basketball is playing a game against outmatched University as they're winning by like 100. And then Kim Mulkey doesn't go to the press conference afterwards, and Scott Woodward's fired that night, and Verge is introduced at a very kind of quirky 8 a.m. press conference on Halloween Day. That was
weird.
It was weird.
No, that was bizarre. And I think you go back to it, and look, certain people have media training, right? And some people are comfortable talking in front of media. I will always circle that press conference as one that was like, you had some people, with all due respect to those people, I don't think they were quite prepared for the questions that were thrown their way that morning.
Yeah. Nick Saban used to have a saying, broke trout look, the fish that's caught. And, I don't know if I'm saying anything about any of those people, but you can be, you're not ready for that until you're out there.
Oh, yeah, there's no preparing.
Bright lights and, even a little local peon sportscaster like myself, when I was growing up, I'd watch the local news and think I could do so much better than those people. And then, all right, here you go. And then you're on a set with bright lights, and 5 seconds can feel like 5 hours if you're not ready. But anyway, the point being that week did not feel positive.
No.
It felt like they were going in the wrong direction. Pat McAfee is got Governor Landry on and is impersonating him to his face. Now, Governor, you stirring it up down there, huh, Matt? And I kind of got a little tired of that myself, no matter how you feel about our governor. I'm from the Acadiana area, and it kind of like, okay, you did a Cajun impression. It kind of got old. But long story short, Verge is given an assignment. They had one target, they landed him, and so we don't know how many games Lane Kiffin is going to win, but at least in terms of what they were looking to do, they did it.
Yeah, I think the overwhelming reaction when Verge was named AD was a little bit of like, okay, at least from our subscribers. And I think just some people on social media, which is obviously important that you take the people's opinion on Twitter and social media and Facebook and everything. But I think that was a little bit of that. But then you fast forward to this past week's press conference, right? And, Verge talks about the twists and turns and how this thing wasn't really easy to get done. And a lot of that's public. Now, Keith Carter went on a show, I believe, here this past week, the athletic director for Ole Miss, and talked about how some of the things publicly that were said by Lane Kiffin may or may not be true. Whatever the truth is to that, Ausberry didn't have to just fight Ole Miss in this. I feel like he had to fight public perception of himself. And I give hats off to him. Look, we don't know. We all know that you're judged at the end of the day by wins and losses, whatever you want to stand up at the podium and say.
Yeah.
You're judged on the success of your athletic program. And I think Verge did what he set out to do. And so for right now, you have won over, I would say, the fan base in terms of that. You're in good graces. All until you know that first game when Clemson comes to town next year.
Yeah, well, Verge, and that's kind of the question I posed at the time. You replace Scott Woodward with Verge Ausberry. Now, Verge has been in the LSU circle for the better part of 40 years, either as a player or an administrator. And I always go to musical references. He's kind of been the drummer. He's been the guy in the back. He had been the front man like Woodward was. But he's been in all those meetings for the most part, and then seeing coaches hired, seeing coaches fired. Branding is so big with them now.
Yeah.
They tell you, Bryce, your parents probably told you, don't worry about what other people think of you. That is not.
That could be more false.
That is not. I mean, they are very caught up in optics and how did this look. I just referenced the A&M game.
Yeah.
They talked about how the optics looked so bad, and we couldn't overcome that. We had to fire the coach. So, Verge hires Lane Kiffin. I've had people ask me, I guess it's a what if. If Scott Woodward is still the AD, you think he hires Lane Kiffin? You think he pulls that off? Good question. Some people say, well, they got so much money. That's another topic. I didn't realize we had so much money, Bryce. I thought we were poor in Louisiana.
Listen, I'm from Georgia, and all I got told when I moved down here was that's one of the poorest states in the union that you're moving down to, and the make sure you don't have a kid when you go down there because the schools are terrible. Well, I had a kid, and apparently we're not as poor as we think we are.
Yeah, congratulations.
So yeah, there we go. It's one of those things though. Going back to it, just from a money perspective, I have always said this. At a place like LSU, at different big brands, and we'll use that word multiple times in college football and college athletics, the money seemingly just continues to appear when it's needed. And I think that's what happened. And you and I were talking before about what's truly happening with this buyout for Brian Kelly. Maybe Lane Kiffin bought him some time because he doesn't know what his contract is.
Yeah.
He told the media that. So maybe that's fine. Jimmy Sexton will just take care of that. But, there's a lot of aspects of this, I think, that when it's needed at a place like LSU, the drive to be the best, the drive to be one of the best, the money's going to be there. Like, that's what's going to happen.
Well, I think maybe they want to just get that out of the headlines before they got Kiffin here in terms of that. Now, what is the final destination, the number on Kelly? What will they end up paying him before it's all said and done? I think that is something that we'll have to watch to an extent. But and if he gets another job or not, I've seen it in the past. When Les Miles was fired, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years, and Kansas hired him, and that was at the time. Kansas has never been a great job.
Yeah. And
then he didn't work out and was fired and whatnot. So we'll see if Brian Kelly gets a job in the North, like we said, maybe a middle of the pack program. I mean, he's 64 years old. I don't think he'll ever obviously have an opportunity like he did at LSU.
Yeah.
And it's just disappointing the way he worked or did not work here.
This is not going to be popular, Jacques, but I think that at the end of it all, you really do say this guy. He has a successful track record.
Absolutely, he's a Hall of Fame coach.
You can't deny that, and I've been very big proponent of the fact that we've got to stop judging head coaches, good head coaches, based off national championships. To me, it's never been harder to go win a national championship. You get into that 12-team playoff, now you got to beat 3 or 4 more really good teams to get there. So the fact that he does not have that, and if he doesn't take another job, will not have a national title, shouldn't be held against him. But this place, look, they love their football, and you've really got to, ingrain yourself into the culture here. And that's one of the big things I think after the fact. I felt like a lot more media, they were a little more open to saying, yeah, he didn't really do X, Y, and Z. And you've even seen some sources kind of talk more openly about the fact that he didn't maybe he didn't meet with players as much. Maybe those relationships weren't real. And some of the tea leaves that we read, 2-3 years ago, you connect the dots and it makes sense now. I think it is disappointing because I think Kelly is a good head coach. Maybe the times have passed him by in the way he wants to operate things, but I think that it's one of those things. It didn't work out here. It got ugly. It got messy, and it's still a little messy.
Yeah, well, to his defense, NIL and transfer portal pretty much ran parallel to his career at LSU.
Yeah.
Like when he got the job here, that's when all this stuff really started taking off. But they did give him $20 million to invest in the roster this year, and they just weren't coached up in certain spots. And certainly, when you're a guy like him who's 60 when he gets the job and is accomplished, then there's maybe some certain things that you don't do when you're 35, 40. But you were hearing a lot of, well, Frank Wilson's kind of running that program a lot, or some of the assistants are really running that program. He's not really around, and he's not really a grinder when it comes to recruiting and that kind of stuff. And Jordy Culotta told a story the other day of he was riding his bike on an LSU game day when they played Florida this year, and he sees Brian Kelly standing in his driveway at 12:30 on a game day. So I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to be standing in his driveway at 12:30 during a game day.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference, and it's why when this job came open, to me, he was the clear-cut option in Lane Kiffin, just because, talking with people who have worked underneath him, whether it was at Ole Miss, whether it was when he was at Alabama, as they were working as analysts and everything, they said this guy he's got his quirks, right? And we're going to see that over the course of, the next several years and during his press conference, but you can't deny the way that he loves the game and the way he pours himself into his craft, which is offensive play calling, and I've been very impressed with the way that he has grown as a play caller too. This past year, Jock, I went back and watched it the other night. Like the way that he called that game against LSU, and we still believe maybe not the best defense, but one of the better defenses in the country. You look at any statistics, they'll tell you that. I just think that he does things so well. He sets up plays so well, and I think there's a big reason. I told LSU fans this on our show the other night. I said, look, I don't know a win number that you're going to hit. I don't know a total that you're going to hit with him. I don't know if you'll ever hoist the national championship trophy. I can guarantee you next fall this offense is going to have an identity, and it's going to be more fun to watch.
Yeah, well, his strength is LSU's weakness. Mm-hmm. Obviously, those of us who covered the team and fans who watched this offense, which was a root canal all year.
You didn't enjoy the Western Kentucky game? You didn't go, I don't think.
I was thinking about, yeah, you're right, I did not. It was my birthday Friday, and after I told Bryce said, how long have you worked here? I said, 25 years coming up. Oh, really? I was like, yeah. I said, so I'm not covering the Western Kentucky game the day after my birthday this year. John Eads did a great job, sent him out there to cover it, but watched it from home. I guess it was just as bad in person as it was on television. 13-10 against Western Kentucky. I'm thinking it was a highlight of the year, beating Southeastern 56-17. The offense was really humming that night. Southeastern made the FBS playoffs this year. But, yeah, I mean, I'm in Norman, Oklahoma. You ever been to Norman, Oklahoma?
Have not. Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
It was cool to go. I mean, a historic place.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Place that's won a lot of national championships. Saw the Barry Switzer statue and different things. Saw them, the wagon.
Does it live up to the hype?
It moves at high speeds. It came out, I mean, you know the tunnels in the stadiums, these little tunnels that we go through. Well, the wagon, the horses come out. The horses are probably like, pull your own damn wagon. But they come out and they whip a 180 at midfield and they come back in and they are flying into that tunnel, moving at a high speed. So that was impressive. I'm like, wow. I hope no one's standing down in the tunnel because they just got run over. Glad I wasn't standing down there.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, is LSU going to be able to steal a 13-10 game today? And gave up a bust there in the secondary to lose it. But yeah, I mean, early in the game, Harold Perkins intercepts a pass off a deflection, puts you at the 4-yard line, and you throw an interception on the first play.
Can we just be real? When Harold Perkins didn't score, we knew that LSU wasn't scoring. I hate to say it like that, but this offense, one of the biggest things, even go back to fall camp, and you were there for a lot of that and every single day just about – they struggled. I said in fall camp trying to do red zone stuff, yes, this LSU defense was good. Do you remember how creative they were trying to get with Jawan Johnson and all these guys? Like, to me, that screamed desperation early on. And now we come to find out, like, I don't know, Jock. I'm not a play caller, okay? Now, John and I have played the new college football video game together.
Yes.
We've done pretty well. But I will say this. You have Trey Green. Just throw it up to him 4 times. I don't care if people know it's coming. At some point, you just I don't know. It was abysmal. I think root canal is the best way to put it. I've never had one. If that's what it feels like, I don't want to be a part of it.
Well, yeah, I haven't either. Got my wisdom teeth pulled in my early 30s. That was rough. Have you had your wisdom teeth pulled?
I haven't, so maybe I'm on your track. Early 30s.
Yeah, well,
oh, gosh.
When it rolled around, they said, Jacques, how tough a guy are you? I said, not very. Okay, we're going to put you out. You don't want to be awake for that.
Yeah, just go ahead.
But I was awake for LSU football, I think. And the Arkansas drive, a team that they lost 7 in a row, 8 in a row. I don't know. The Razorbacks were a bad team. That one drive to win the game, I described it kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters. LSU, they were like, passing by, they ran like 3 trick plays on the drive to score the game winner there, Michael Van Buren. But whatever happened wrong with the offensive line, I mean, I really like Brad Davis. He's a Baton Rouge guy. He's from Bel Air High School. He works very hard. He's worked across the country. For whatever reason, the offensive line did not work out. Yeah. Whatever happened with Garrett Nussmeier, I mean, I watched him last year throw bombs against Oklahoma for touchdowns. This year, that did not happen. Mm-hmm. Chris Hilton, strong at the end of last year, could not get him involved this year. Barry and Brown was okay, but he didn't live up to the preseason. This guy, he's going to get deep, and we're going to take the top off of defenses and all that. That didn't happen. Mm-hmm. And then running sometimes, Harlem Berry would break off a 17-yarder, and then he'd check in the witness protection. You wouldn't see him again. So Kiffin will utilize the playmakers, right?
Yeah, I think that's one thing when you go back and look at how Kiffin has recruited in high school and how he's recruited in the portal. He likes puzzles. My wife's a big puzzle person. I can't stand them, but I think he is a guy who loves puzzles, and he puts the right pieces in place. And it's not just the flashiest additions that he made. They made an addition this past year, and the reason it sticks in my head is because I was right there on the field, and I think you were close there to me when Ole Miss secured the win. The pass, the outlet pass to the tight end, Daquan Wright is his name. Wright wasn't a highly touted recruit, wasn't a highly touted transfer portal guy, had a solid season in Oxford because they knew how to use him. And I think that's one of the calling cards of why he came here, because this is a place where maybe you don't have to sell as hard to get that elite player at LSU that you have to do at Ole Miss. I believe that. I know Ole Miss fans will debate, but I think LSU fans in large can say, yeah, it's easier to get talent here than it is in Oxford. When you have a guy who understands how to utilize that, and now he's working with a higher caliber of athlete, which I think could be the case here, I'm excited to see what a Harlem Berry looks like. I'm excited to see what a Trey Green looks like. Mm-hmm. Some of these young receivers, I thought Kyle Parker had a solid year in spurts with what he was able to do. When you can do that, it covers up a lot of the issues. The problem this year was you had a lack of developed talent, but you also had a lack of identity. When you marry those two things together, it's a root canal. It's exactly what it is. It's a wisdom teeth. That's what it is. And so even if LSU's offensive talent isn't what it needs to be for this program to win a national title next year, his ability to call plays and to layer plays and to just scheme things open, I think gives you a massive advantage.
Yeah, and I think there were definitely some fans that were hoping that Michael Van Buren was going to be like this magic wand. And as the joke goes, no one's more popular than the backup quarterback. And, he did some good things, but obviously they had so many problems. And, he could have played better in spots as well. So we'll see what his future is at LSU. And let's just talk about Kiffin. So there's some people that say they wish they would have hired him when they hired Brian Kelly. And I might disagree with that because at the time he had just finished his second year at Ole Miss. I think right now is a good time because he's kind of, maybe not in the eyes of some people, but look, he's kind of maybe the immature job hopper thing. He did stay at Ole Miss for 6 years.
Yeah.
And he did build them up into a consistent winner. Mm-hmm. And I think that and I thought he made some very poignant comments about, I'm 50 years old. Nick Saban at LSU won his first national title. I think he was 52. Mm-hmm. Pete Carroll really hit his prime in his 50s. I remember when USC hired Pete Carroll, it was a joke. A lot of people were cracking jokes about Pete Carroll, and look what he became. So, like Kiffin said, this is my 6th head coaching job, which isn't all good. That was funny. But is he hitting his golden years? That's what you hope.
I think it is. And look, maybe I'm naive, right? Maybe I sat on the front row on Monday and just drank the Kool-Aid. Like, maybe that was me. But I do believe, Jacques, that this was a tough decision. Like, I think that was very real and authentic. The fact that this was not easy for him to leave Ole Miss. I do believe him, and you mentioned documentaries earlier, the documentary that came out the week of the LSU Ole Miss game. Mm-hmm. In fact, that talked about, his growth as a person, where he's real about it. I think those things are real. 6 years at Ole Miss was good for him. It was an opportunity for him to slow down. It was an opportunity for him to learn about himself. And you can obviously see, going back to those two mentors and the passing of his late father, Monty, who's a legend in the coaching world, all of those things built into why he is here. And so to your earlier point, look, I wasn't down here, but I covered college football from afar. LSU was not at a good place when they went to go hire Brian Kelly. They needed a stabilizer. Mm-hmm. So if in 3 or 4 years we're talking about a national championship here at LSU, this is not going to be popular. You do have to look back and say, hey, Brian Kelly stabilized us. Mm-hmm. Couldn't get us over the hump. There were very real issues, very real problems. Maybe a lot of those were his own fault. But you can also sit here and tell people, hey, that had to happen so we could get to this point. Mm-hmm. There's always the foundation being built, I think, in my opinion.
Well, I think that his popularity peaked, Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
His first year, they were 9-2 going into the regular season finale at Texas A&M, inheriting a situation where they thought they were going to perhaps be Ed Ogeron in the COVID year went 5-5. They were 3-5. He had to rally to win that miracle in the fog at Florida, and then beat Lane Kiffin in Tiger Stadium to go 5-5. And then in 2021. He is fired but allowed to stay on. That was very unique. I think they were 4-3 when Ogeron is not coming back. So he had 5 games to navigate as a coach who's not coming back, and I was kind of like, this could go off the rails, you know. But anyway, long story short, that god awful Texas Bowl, they go 6-7. So Kelly comes in. I think they do a good job in the portal. They hit on some guys like. Let me reach into my memory. Jarek Bernard Converse, is that his name?
Old sneakers, yeah. That's how I remember that, yeah.
Had the huge interception against Alabama. Yep. Bryce Young, first drive of the game. Alabama's at the 5. They're about to score, and Jarek Bernard Converse. Some guys like Mekhi Garner, is that right?
Yeah.
Safety. Yeah. The late Kyron Lacey, people like that, they were able to patch in. And then they go to A&M, who is having a dreadful season, and get punched in the mouth. And this was kind of the thing with Brian Kelly here and there, where I call it like the whiplash game, like the thing you didn't see coming, and you just get whiplashed. And then they go to the SEC championship. They're punching way out of their weight class with Georgia at the time. Mm-hmm. They give up 50 points. But
Jane Daniels gets thrown up in the air.
Gets picked up.
Yeah.
And Garrett Nussmeier. He Houdinis a few plays and throws to my guy from Gina there, wide receiver. Jeray Jenkins.
Yeah.
But then also gets picked off and stuff. So I think after that point, I don't want to say it was up and down with Brian Kelly, because, look, his SEC record after 2 years was 12-4. That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. But then, the 2023, the defense is down, way down here, and the offense is way up here. And then 24, they had a 3-game losing streak, and this year was his worst team of the 4. So sorry for all the rambling. But anyway, so now now it's Lane Kiffin's. He's a celebrity.
He is.
You're in recruiting. How important is that?
I wrote an article this week on, talking with some recruits that have been recruited by him, whether they committed or not, and then also people who've worked in a recruiting office underneath him. And they said the one thing that, I've used this word once already, I'll use it again, despite his quirks, he is quirky, players relate to his love of the game, because he really does love the game. And I've mentioned that multiple times. And I think that comes obviously from the relationship with his father, just being wanting to dive into the game and be the best at it. So when you sit down, if you and I, if you're Lane Kiffin and I'm a recruit and you're sitting here and we're just talking about ball, right? Like, we're just talking the best way we can utilize you. Hey, I know you want to go to the NFL. Here's 2, 3, 4 guys we've helped get there. This is how we're going to do it. That still means a lot. And I think people get caught up in the dollar amount in the NIL. And look, that plays a role, right? Like, if you have an opportunity to get paid, you're going to go get paid. That makes sense. But a place like LSU, the money should be even, right? Like, you should be able to compete relatively. We don't have Phil Knight money down here, but it's what it is.
Yeah.
So that type of conversation and relationship plays a large role. And then this is one part that I was told that I chuckled at, and didn't include the whole thing in the article. But obviously Kelly was much maligned about his dance moves on the.
I still don't understand what the whole point of that was and why did they do that. Anyway, go ahead.
So after that, Kelly wasn't as involved in terms of those official visits, like the pictures and the photo shoots and all of these things, the kids do, and it's fun, right? I mean, like people want to bash on kids for doing it. Hey, you get to do it one time in your life, enjoy it. Kiffin's really involved, and he has fun with it. And he, there's the clips of him letting kids drive his car around Oxford, or he's the Uber driver, right? And saying, I'll drive you around wherever you want to go as long as you come to the SIP. I don't know what it's going to be. Come to the boot. I don't know what it's going to be down here, but I think just the way that he connects with players is huge. And he has said in interviews as well. He said this in a podcast interview, and I confirmed with some people. Fans and media and all these things, we love to see his Twitter, right? Like it's popped off. I don't know if you've seen everything, his devotional or whatever he's reading every day and all this kind of stuff. Parents and players have said, we feel like we know you already because your personality is so out there. And so he is who he is, for better or for worse. And I think people are going to love him or hate him, and that's who he is. And I think he embraces that. And I think he does care, but to a certain extent. But in the recruiting sphere, kids want authenticity. They don't want you to sell them a bill of goods. And I think the biggest thing from talking to people is that that's what he is. And look, there's going to be sometimes, we've seen it already, some kids have decommitted and decided to go elsewhere because they were told there wasn't a spot on the roster, most notably Warren Easton offensive lineman today, Jalen Chapman. Chapman was cut, I guess we use the word, from LSU's recruiting class, committed to Ole Miss and tweeted out, spot the ball, let's go play. So there's going to be tough conversations like that. But in the end, when these kids grow up and realize, I think they can understand that the authenticity is what matters. And I think that's a buzzword right now that Ole Miss fans push back against, LSU fans want to embrace. Just talking to people I've talked about it, it is real. And like it or not, he's going to shoot you straight.
Yeah. The hashtag I think I've seen him use is different.
Just different, yeah.
Yeah, different or just different.
Because I think he said that in the press conference.
Yes.
That was the big – you saw the branding, the social media. LSU football wanted to push that out there. So
yeah.
I said that's what's going to be on the back of the T-shirts this year. No 1-0, just different.
Just different.
We got to get ourselves one.
Well, there was some stuff that rhymed with Kelly 4 years ago. Two things off the top of my head. One was the win bar. I saw an athletic director, a new head coach, and a president standing there with a win bar. They were all different people this time around. It was not Brian Kelly, William Tate, the president, and Scott Woodward, the athletic director. It was Verge Ausberry, athletic director, President Roos, and, of course, Lane Kiffin. And the word alignment was thrown around, was used a lot 4 years ago, and was used a lot this time. But a lot of the other stuff was different. And Lane Kiffin has retweeted some of us, and I looked, and the timestamp, it was like 4:23 in the morning.
Just in time for hot yoga.
Just in time for hot yoga.
I'm ready to see that feature, by the way. You doing hot yoga with Lane Kiffin.
Well, they interviewed. He did it here, Baton Rouge.
He's already done it with a local company, a local place.
And our news team did a good job. I think they tracked down the woman that he did it with, and they interviewed her and stuff.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm not airing too much inside baseball. They had wanted me to try to ask about that if I could, and I was going to try. But at a press conference of that magnitude, you typically get one question, and I guess I could have asked about Tiger Stadium and said, oh, by the way, your hot yoga. Tell me about that. Maybe I could have tagged it.
Well, I was going to ask. I was going to go. I've got a two-parter, my real question. And then, he's complained so much about Ole Miss not being able to play night games. Is that one of the reasons he wanted to come down here? That was my second part.
Night games in Death Valley.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's going to work. I think LSU's going to score points. He reminds, and this isn't an original thought. I've heard it from different people. He's definitely got some Will Wade in him in terms of Will Wade is a little younger than Kiffin, I think, but, very intelligent. The gears are always grinding, play calling. And with Will Wade, it's analytics and all those different things. And, in the past, there were some games at times that Will Wade lost that I thought he should have won. And I think maybe the same thing has been true with Kiffin.
Yeah.
I don't think LSU should have beat them in 24. I think that Kiffin looks back at that game and says we dominated in a lot of different aspects. We should have probably won the game. LSU, to their credit, won the game. I just think him with the LSU brand, Tiger Stadium in his corner, Louisiana talent, NIL support, It's a high expectation. As the writer, the media guy said, Ole Miss's ceiling is LSU's expectation, and that's where we are here.
That's going to get clipped, by the way, by Ole Miss fans, that statement right there. 'Cause they're going to love that. No, I think in terms of does it work, right? Jacques, I mean, I'll say this and put myself out there. Like, I don't know where the downside is in terms of on the field football-wise. I don't see it. I think that he has, done a good job of surrounding himself with people who understand and talking with the recruiting aspect of understanding. We know there's a lot of staff changes happening as we are recording this. There's a lot of indecisiveness and not necessarily
Which
clarity
is why I
that's
haven't
gonna
talked
happen.
about any of that stuff.
Yeah,
yet,
well, we're not talking about it. So
dated by the time I post it. Go ahead. Sorry.
But to that point, this is going to work. Now, what does that mean to the fan that wants LSU, that lives in Mandeville and has been a diehard fan for 45, 50 years? We love you. We appreciate you. If you view this working as multiple national titles, I don't know if that's my definition of working. I think this is a team that's going to be constantly in and around the title conversation. That's what you should be at LSU. There's no reason with Lane Kiffin's ability matched with the resources, the player talent pool that you can get here. That has to be the expectation. And I've had a lot of people, shoot me texts that maybe they cover other teams. And the question has been asked, and I know it's your show, but maybe I ask you this, like, why does LSU have these expectations? And I have just said, to me, if you don't understand it and you're an outsider, which is what I am, right? If you don't understand that, you have to come experience it. And you've got to experience multiple different sporting events to understand what this place means to people. It's one of the reasons that I have stayed here and elected to stay here and cover this program, because it has been such a joy. And I'm sure for the amount of years that you've been here, you've seen that. Like, the expectation here is to be the best. It's
it
to
has
be the
changed.
greatest. It's changed
drastically.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to my first game in the late 80s, and the first team I ever went to go see went 10-1-1. And then not long after that, we went into the Curly Hallman days, in which he coached 4 years at LSU. He won 16 games, and he lost 28. They never went to a bowl game. They never had a winning season. And I never really thought LSU was going to win a national title. It was always kind of like, let's win like one big game that's going to steal the national headlines, whether it was beating Florida in 1997 when they were number one, or back to the late 80s, 1988 earthquake game. Auburn was fourth in the country, undefeated. The only game they lost all year, I believe. And then in 2003, it was like a dream. LSU is playing in New Orleans against Oklahoma for the national title. We can't believe this is happening. And then Nick Saban leaves, and then in 2007, Les Miles and LSU were back in the Dome. Fortuitous, lost 2 games that year. No national, only national champion to lose 2 games in the BCS era, I think, or something like that.
Might have been, yeah.
And Skip Bertman was the AD at the time, and he said, we won the title in 2003. It was the first in like 50 years. Now we've won 2 in like 5. Fans are spoiled. There's that word again,
There's that
spoiled.
word. Yeah,
Skip
Lord.
used it back in 2007.
Yeah.
And he was right.
Yeah.
So, and here's another thing. The last 3 LSU coaches have all won national titles. That's true.
Yeah.
But Alabama's won 6 in this time. LSU's won 3. Nick Saban has a heavy hand in 8 of those 9, because he obviously won the 6 at Alabama. He won the LSU one in 2003. No offense to Les Miles, who coached the team, and his staff coached the team. But this is back before transfer portal and NIL, and the dudes that were there in 2005 were the dudes that were there in 2007, and pretty much played up your Glenn Dorseys, your Matt Flynn's, early Doucettes, all those guys. Pretty big. And then in 2019, it's the ultimate. It all came together, and then it all went away for Coach O, and to his credit and his staff. So I think it has changed, Bryce, in the fact that when I grew up, you used to look forward to maybe they can get a New Year's Day bowl. Mm-hmm. It'll be a good bowl game. We can finish in the top 10, and that I don't hear that anymore.
Yeah, I don't either. And I think it's a good problem to have. For sure, but it also can be, you play the devil's advocate. It's the reason Brian Kelly's not here right now, because, that was the pushback when this coaching search, we felt like Lane Kiffin was still the top target, but then Florida's really maybe not in the mix, stuff like that. The biggest thing I kept getting told was, why would someone want to come to LSU if you're going to get fired for winning 9 games a year? And I guess I just view it differently, because to me, it's like, as a competitor, you can come in here, and if you exceed that, if you win 10, 11 games, especially if we expand this playoff to 24 teams, Jock, which, God, I'm not a fan of.
24?
If you go to 16 or 24 teams, apparently the Big Ten just wants everybody to get in. They want Rutgers in the playoff.
Well, you're totally gonna ruin. I don't say totally ruin, but it used to be that you would say the college football regular season is the best regular season.
Oh, it is.
All means the most. And now you're going to say, well, if they lose this game today, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Shoot, if they lose 3 games in the SEC, it won't matter. I mean, you're so to that point.
Yeah.
If you the payoff at a place like LSU is totally worth the risk, in my opinion. And I think Kiffin understands that. And I think that's why he stood up there on Monday and he talked about, and he said multiple times, he said it to Marty Smith in that interview, and he said it to us in the media on Monday. You know, my father was really close with Carroll and Saban, and Carroll told him, your father would say go for it. And I think when you say go for it, there's a risk involved, and he understands the risk. But, man, if you pay off here, if you win big here, you can go down as one of the best coaches of all time. Like, you really can if you win multiple here. So I'm not stating that's going to happen. I just think that people have to look at the brand, the platform that this place gives you, and all those different things to where you can get to a point and say, hey, if it works out, you're going to be lauded as one of the greatest to do it.
Yeah, but back in 2007, Saban said it was a mistake. I shouldn't have left LSU. He quoted Joe Walsh and the Eagles, life's been good to me so far. You know, you're always grass is always greener. And I don't want to compare Nick Saban and Lane Kiffin, and I'm going to compare Nick Saban and Lane Kiffin, but at least you kind of heard some similar stuff. Job hopper and LSU fans, when Saban took the Alabama job, whether they were hoping for it or believed it, they said, well, he'll leave you in 4 years too, in 5 years too. And unfortunately for LSU fans, he did not. But so maybe now, I don't know how long Lane Kiffin's going to stay at LSU, but if he gets this thing up and running, then I'm sure the NFL will come a-calling. But whether or not he goes or not.
I thought it was interesting because, you know, towards the end of the Kiffin search or whatever you want to call it, Kiffin watch, you had a lot of people when the New York Giants job came open. Mm-hmm. Hey, his quarterback is there. Jackson Dart is presumed going to be the starting quarterback. Does he want to go there? And, you know, I kind of think that NFL teams want to see maybe a little more maturity in terms of that. That's not any insider talking. It's just my opinion in terms of what it takes to lead an NFL franchise and be one of those guys and interact with – look, these are adults, but they're also kids here. But you're interacting with adults on a daily basis. Those guys have families. They get paid sometimes more than you do.
Yeah.
In certain instances. So that's starting to happen in college football now. But to that point, you know, I saw a lot of Ole Miss fans and have said, hey, he's going to leave you. Just wait. And look, John, you were in Norman. I was back home for the holidays for Thanksgiving. I grew up 30 minutes from Auburn, Alabama. I was at the Iron Bowl on Saturday, and that was a pivotal game, not just in itself, but a lot of people saying, oh, my gosh, if they lose this game, would Kalen DeBoer be pushed to go to Penn State? And would that mean that Lane – is this why Lane's really holding out? You know, maybe he does leave. And a lot of people have equated it to this to me. It's like that relationship that you know's not going to end with a happily ever after, but you're going to enjoy it while it's going. And maybe it is what it is. And maybe LSU can capitalize on a national championship or two on the way. But I think it's going to work. I think it's a really good match. I like the – authenticity that he showed. I do believe it's real. Maybe I'll sit here in 3 years and say, man, I was hoodwinked and bamboozled, the whole Stephen A. Smith bit. Maybe I'll say that. But for the time being, I think it's going to work, and I just don't know. I don't know. It's hard to look down the road, much less 3 years, than it is 1 year at this point in the sport.
Yeah, well, sometimes he can come off at maybe a little robotic, but on Monday he said, look, I'm human. Basically said I got feelings, and I don't feel good when the fans that I've been building a program for and winning games for are shooting me the bird at the airport.
Running you off the road.
Running you off the road. We have proof of that?
I don't know. I have no idea. It seems like a local police department issue.
It made me think of it, not to say it's the same thing, but you remember when Jim McElwain at Florida said I was getting death threats?
Yeah, that's.
And then they said, well, where? And then he never provided any, no proof of that.
No proof of it.
Easy for me to say, you you didn't get death threats.
Have you ever gotten run off the road due to your takes on TV?
No, I don't think so. Okay. I don't think people care that much about me to do that, but maybe one day we'll see. But yeah, it's funny how we all care about LSU football and the games, but nothing captivates this town like a coaching search. You know, like people who normally don't even watch the games, and they just can't get enough of the, well, I heard this and I heard that, and we start tracking planes, and
Are you into plane tracking? Did you get? I was involved in that.
It's definitely been something here over the years. Planes to Tuscaloosa in particular.
Yeah.
Saban's coming back. No, he's not.
No, he's not.
But in this case, the plane tracking was accurate.
Yeah.
The planes that were tracked, it wasn't just some guy who has a lot of money who decided to go play golf in Oxford, right?
Yeah, I don't know the quality of golf there, but yeah. No, it's been interesting. I'd say the last 2 weeks, I mean, we were joking earlier, I've got an 18-month-old daughter. What better thing for me to do than let Dad take her out there and watch the airplanes take off? I mean, that's what we did. We did a little bit of that. So it's interesting in terms of how this whole thing has played out, how the search has gone. And you mentioned it too. I mean, nothing galvanizes, especially this fan base, more than a coaching search. And, all the notes and the tidbits, we've seen it, just the growth on our site in terms of people wanting more information. Heck, the shout out, and I got to give him a shout out here because he's done a great job. I think his handle on Twitter is allthingsgo22. The kid that went out and took pictures of the private jet when Kiffin's family came down here.
Yeah.
He was a subscriber on our board and has now been in folklore because he tweeted it out before any of the big media got it. So if other people say they got it, apparently he got it. So shout out to that fan. No, it's crazy. It's a wild time to follow this thing. It makes for a lot of twists and turns. And frankly, you mentioned like the college football regular season has become such a minuscule part of the coverage aspect, I feel like, of this sport, because I mean, we're embarking into a calendar and a schedule now that doesn't make any sense. I mean, I think we can all sit there and say that. And it includes this frenzy to go get your head coach, high school players signing, a bowl game that you've got to figure out who's going to coach it, and then obviously a portal that opens up on January the 2nd. That, by the way, the kids, if you make enough changes during that first week in December, can say, yeah, I've been here a month, but my coach is no longer here, so I'm leaving. It doesn't make any sense. It's been crazy. I mean, we're entering a time where the phone has to stay close to you. Mm-hmm. Maybe you shut yourself in the room a little bit and you don't talk to other people. I try to get outside once or twice a day. I don't know about you, but it's been a whirlwind, and you love the adrenaline rush that comes from it.
Well, down the stretch here as we wrap, we can talk about the staff. I'm not sure how much of this will be dated by the time it gets posted, but certainly we've seen over the years that any good coach needs people who are qualified and good assistant coaches around him to win. Mm-hmm. We saw that in 2019 with the pairing of Dave Aranda with Coach O and Steve Ensminger and Joe Brady. Jerry DiNardo, when he started winning at LSU, had good assistants around him, and then when he started losing, they weren't here. And obviously, even Nick Saban, you look back on his staff and you see, your Jimbo Fishers, your Will Muschamps, your guys who Kirby Smart was here for 1 year. I don't even remember that, really. I think I got shots at him at practice 1 year in 2004. Nobody knew who this guy was. Yeah. Was he a grad assistant?
I think he was a grad assistant with Muschamp, I believe.
A guy named Kirby Smart.
Crazy.
Out there. But the guy that became the coach of the Jets who kind of had the strange press conference, Adam Gase, he was...
Oh, where he's just, there's nothing going on in his eyes.
Yeah. He was here on the LSU staff, like getting coffee and stuff. I know he did more than that. But anyway, so as we're sitting here, we haven't really heard any positive things in terms of Frank Wilson being back on the staff.
Yeah.
If he's back, okay. But I'm just telling you right now, as we're sitting here, I haven't heard anything in that regard. It seems that Corey Raymond is coming back as I'm sitting here. We'll see when they finally have a press conference or whatever. But I'm just telling you, that's the way it feels right now. Blake Baker and Tulane, as we're sitting here right now, they feel like they're at the 5-yard line. And it feels like Blake Baker is going to be the head coach at Tulane. Does LSU make a goal line stand and grab him, keep him in place? I feel like the chances of that happening aren't that great, but we'll see. So he's got to mold the staff around him, bring the guys from Ole Miss that he wants to be here, and then pair them up with new coaches, and then also, I guess, keep some guys in place from the previous staff to sweet harmony with the guys currently on the roster, and then the guys you've been recruiting and all that. It's like surgery, right?
It's like that game where you don't want to hit the buzzer. I don't remember what it was, the surgery game.
Oh, yeah, Operation.
Operation, yeah. It's like
for a guy that's as young as you know a lot about board games and puzzles.
There we go. Yeah, well, I promise my wife is my age. She's but no, in terms of this staff, like how you put all this together, right? I mean, Look, and Jock's not joking. Like, as we are recording this, this is about as time sensitive as it can get. Look, if Blake Baker takes this Tulane job, I think it's well deserved, right? I mean, he's a former player there, played in 2004, played linebacker early 2000s.
I think it was 2002 maybe
okay,
or
early
so.
2000s.
Yeah, but you may be right. You may be right.
Early 2000s. He
played in the Superdome.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. I think he also, and talking with some people, he really is the same type of coach that a guy like John Sumrall was, defensive-minded, energetic, emphatic about what he wants. So that could work out well. But in terms of Lane's staff here at LSU, look, we know as of right now that Charlie Weiss Jr. is going to be coaching Ole Miss throughout their postseason run. A lot of LSU fans have gotten nervous about letting him go back up to Oxford because that mean that he would stay. We're led to believe he's just going to be the OC here. I think that's a great marriage to have between those two guys there. He's brought some of his staff over as well, a quarterback's coach. The rumored, you and I were talking before, the rumored hiring of a veteran O-line coach that might actually be the O-line coach, could be an assistant O-line coach. We'll see what happens there. But it is a weird time because I equated to this, Chuck. You literally have coaches from leftover from the original staff that are going to be coaching through a bowl game knowing that that Monday after they're not going to be here. Like their office is going to be cleaned out.
Yeah.
It's a very weird phenomenon to happen. A lot of people don't feel bad for them because you get paid exorbitant amount of money. It doesn't matter. But these people have families. They have kids that are in schools locally. It does mean a lot. So we'll see how he does this. I think if you can build a staff here, the one thing I've continued to say is for fans, focus on that 2027 recruiting class. This 2026 one was always going to be weird. They're taking some big pot shots at guys. I can talk about this. Landon Duckworth, the quarterback from Jackson, Alabama, was being courted very heavily by LSU late. South Carolina had him committed for a very long time. Ultimately, it wasn't enough. I think with time, that's a battle that you would win. Time just wasn't on Lane Kiffin's side, both with the coaching staff, and you can't promise a lot of things when that happens.
Yeah. Well, I certainly remember being at the Texas Bowl at the end of 21. They had this, they do this rodeo event with the two teams, and they don't really like ride bulls and stuff, but they have them like lassos.
Mechanical bulls? Or,
yeah, Urban Cowboy with John Travolta. Looking for love and all the great soundtrack.
That was good.
1980, way before you were born. I was like 5. But anyway, so I remember being at that event, looking up at these coaches. I'm like, well, there's Durante Jones. I guess Jake Peets was still there. I'm trying to remember. Like Coach O had hired 7 coaches before 21, like to try to rectify. And I think because of the fact that he was on the hot seat a year after the greatest team of all time.
Yeah.
A lot they couldn't really hire who they wanted. Marcus Freeman had been mentioned, and defensive coordinator. It didn't work out, obviously. But I just remember this is just odd situation of that was the 39 scholarship players and all these assistant coaches who were not going to be back at LSU next year. Besides Brad Davis trying to just meddle through this thing, and so we'll see what happens. We'll see what bowl game LSU ends up at. Been a lot of talk about going to the Music City Bowl. They haven't been to the Liberty Bowl since 1985. Could they go to the Gator? I don't know. But,
where do you want to go? Where do you
well,
want
I
to
think John Eads will go. But
okay.
I mean,
Nashville's not bad around New Year's.
Yeah, and I think the Saints are playing the Titans around that same time.
Said that, yeah.
Bad.
That's a bad football game. That's a
in
bad.
The cold, Nashville. The stadium's outdoors, by the way.
They might not even change the Music City Bowl logos off. Just let them play out there right afterwards.
Yeah, that's
like the kids at halftime. Just come out here and play.
2 teams not heading towards the promised land. Because when LSU lost to Vanderbilt in Nashville that week, the local news was that the Titans had just fired their head coach and all that. But yeah, you could have a nice cold game outside with the Saints with 2 wins or whatever they're going to have against the Titans, and then the teams in the bowl game will have winning records, or at least LSU will 7-5. But
well, the bowl game I advocated for quickly was the most un-Louisiana thing ever. I said that it would have been justice to watch a head coach at the time was Brian Kelly to win the Duke's Mayo Bowl, but have to pour Duke's Mayo on him instead of Blue Plate. That's what I thought would have been.
You want to pour mayonnaise on Brian Kelly?
I don't. That is not a confirmed statement. That's going to get clipped as well. But no, that one Pop-Tarts Bowl, I would enjoy seeing Frank Wilson eat a Pop-Tart.
I remember the Cheez-It Bowl.
Oh, the bending, yeah.
Brian Kelly's first year, yeah.
Against Purdue. Bad Purdue
Who
team.
got the interception? Was it Greg Brooks? Somebody got the interception, and the whole team ran. And
It was Claude Wilson. It was Frank Wilson's son.
well, that was late.
That was
the
late.
pick
That was late.
six.
The pick six, yeah.
This was in the first half or something. Well, anyway, the whole team ran, and
know what you're
they jumped on the mat. There was like a mat, and then the Cheez-It mascot, the little
The Cheez-It, yeah.
with the glasses, he went and like celebrated with him, and then Jamar Kane like ran over and was like, "Go on, come on, get up, guys!" He was like shouting at him, because they got a penalty, and then Kelly was mad that they called a penalty. He's like, "Let him have fun, come on."
He's eating Cheez-Its off the ground.
He was. He picked some
no
Cheez-Its
30-second rule, 5-second rule for Brian Kelly.
Les Miles eats grass and Brian Kelly eats Cheez-Its off the turf there. So, Bryce, thanks for coming down.
I appreciate it.
We'll wrap this
Yes,
up.
sir. Thank you.
I'll spare you from any more of my further blabbering here on Jock Talk, but we'll see what happens next. It's Baton Rouge. The second I'd say, yeah, things are going to calm down. Nope, not so much.
Not at all.
We'll see you later. Thanks for watching this Jock Talk, and of course, all the rest of them are right here for you to watch on YouTube or WAFB.com. See you later.